cashola. I want you to have some cash so that you can have some autonomy in your life. Now, let's get into what is that central bank digital currency. We've made videos before on central bank digital currencies, but England has a new PM and he is racing towards it. And they keep coming out with more and more of it. If you want to know some more information about it, we'll link it up above. But it goes into a lot of the benefits and the cons that are coming. Now, everybody keeps asking, David, what is it with this digital money? Because the digital money that is out there, everything that we do every day, we get paid digitally in our bank account, right? We pay stuff on our credit cards, all digital. We pay our bills off. We're going day to day, many people without ever using cash. And I'm one of them. So you keep asking, what is the difference? Because the regular person walking down the street will have zero clue that anything has changed. Okay. They're probably for a brief amount of time going to have some cash available and the majority of it going to central bank digital currency. Now, we got to think about what China is doing because we're trying to copy that exact system. Now, let's take a look at what the Bank of England is mentioning. The officials saying the digital pound provides big opportunities for businesses. So we have to remember that there's huge benefits to governments and a little bit of the benefit for people, maybe. But there also comes with a big list of cons. And I found a website that I really want to go over with you because I think it's really important. If we look here, it says that the digital pound could help provide a reduction in friction in cost of payment to businesses. Any of you that have a business know that when people are paying on their credit cards all the time, you end up having to pay like 1.75% or something like that to the actual credit card, like a MasterCard or something to do that transaction for you. Now, 1.75% doesn't sound like a lot, but remember, the majority of businesses operate on a 10% profit margin. Woo! If you only have a 10% profit margin and now you have to pay like 2% of it away to MasterCard, you're paying 20% of your profits away. I mean, it could be a big deal. And when you're talking about a company that is moving millions of dollars through the doors, 2% of that could stack up to a huge number. All right, in this article, they're mentioning the Bank of England Deputy Governor for Monetary Policy, Ben Broadbent, said that the financial services built on new technologies like blockchain could be easily adopted. You notice that? Easily adopted, meaning this could happen in a second. Remember, the most popular cryptocurrency is Bitcoin, but they're going to have, instead of that, like a Canadian Bitcoin or a Bank of England Bitcoin or a Canada coin. I don't know what they're going to call it, but it's going to be something like that. Notice he said it could be done easily. Now, specifically, the digital pound will provide faster alternative to digital payment. Now, let's talk about that one at a time, okay? Because I don't know, you guys. I buy a lot of stuff on Amazon and other stuff like that, right? And it's pretty quick. It takes me half a second. So I don't know if faster is always the answer, to be honest with you. Provide lower settlement costs for businesses. We just spoke about that because instead of having to pay 2% away to a credit card, now I'm only going to have to pay a fraction of a penny. Okay, so I think they got some real weight with that one. And protect the financial stability of the pound. Well, you're going to have to get somebody in there to explain that to me because explaining the stability of the pound, I don't really understand how that is. So they have to be more specific when they're going to talk about that. Okay. Now, the plans for it. The Bank of England initiated the plans to launch the digital pound following findings that cash usage in the UK is falling to as low as 15%. So you have to take this as a little bit of a warning shot. So the governments of the world, same as in Canada, same as the United States, same as in Denmark, so forth, these countries are not using a lot of cash. They're putting it all on their credit cards and paying it digitally anyway. So they're saying, well, we might as well do it. Nobody is using cash anymore. And think of it, government's got to pay money to print all those bills and to have it in circulation. Imagine them not having to do that anymore. So they're thinking about ways to save money. And they're like, if the people don't want it anyway, but that is going to be one of the most radical things for you for like self-sovereignty. If we take a regular dollar, now I got this old dollar for me, but you can see there's serial numbers on it. This is a special bill that is a silver certificate, has a blue star, but you see serial numbers on these bills. The serial numbers are like the serial numbers that you would have on a lot of other different items. On a gold bar, you know, this is a serial item, but there is no national register that David went and bought a pack of gum with this one specific bill. There isn't that. But these systems that we're talking about, central bank digital currencies, are a worldwide ledger showing who owned what and where and what did you buy. And then that is where it comes in to be a little bit of a gray zone. Now, according to the Bank of England, digital pound holders will not earn interest on their holdings. Woo! So not only could they save money by not printing all of these bills, now all of a sudden, they don't want to pay interest to anybody that has any money in any account. You hear that ball dropping? Because I'm hearing it. Think of the trillions of dollars that they're going to save around the world. We're not going to pay interest to anybody anymore. I hear wah wah in the background. That's loony bins. Okay, so look at this. I found this. You can go to cbdctracker.org, Central Bank Digital Currency. You can see Canada now has moved up one of the grades to pilot project now. The United States started the Fed Now service. It's starting this year. It's the payment rails for central bank digital currency, but notice that they're in the research phase. But the majority of the planet is all moving towards this right now. It's happening quickly. Now, let me show you this other map. You can go to atlanticcouncil.org. I want to just show you as far as a calendar. So we're interested for ourselves, right? For development, pilot, and launch. So we're kind of looking at that. Now, look at this percentage. We're now at 40% in these top three. They're in the development, pilot, or launched. But now look, once we move past that in June, December, May, it's now at 45%. December of last year, we're now at 55%. And now a few months have passed since then. So it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, the ones who are now developing it and launching their pilot projects. This has to be something that you're paying attention to. It has to be something that you're watching. And it's coming at breakneck speed, because within another year, you're now going to be at 60-70% of the world is going to be on central bank digital currencies. So I really, really want you to pay attention to cashola. I want you to have some cash so that you can be careful and have some autonomy in your life. Now, let's get into a little bit more of what is that central bank digital currency. I want to go through this website with you. atlanticcouncil.org. What is a CBDC? A central bank digital currency is a digital form of the country's fiat currency. So fiat being that paper money or faith-based money. It's also a claim on the central bank. Instead of printing money, the central bank will issue these electronic coins. So just think of that like the Bitcoin I was showing you. They're going to have a coin for their country. That's what they're going to do instead. So why would a government get into digital currencies? Very good. Let's talk about the pros. Promoting financial inclusion by providing easy and safe access to money for unbanked or underbanked populations. Good point, you guys. Very good point. If you look at a lot of countries, let's say Africa, India, Central America, some really poor countries that may only be making $2 a day, now all of a sudden for them to have a bank account and pay $10 a month just to pay for a bank account, my goodness, they're never going to do that. They don't have the money to buy an account. And so if they don't have an account, they can't get credit. If you can't get credit, you can't build a business or a home. It is very important to get these people to be able to have free accounts and start being able to access some type of credit for themselves, which is really, really important. So I love that mission. Okay, very, very good point. Now, they also want to increase efficiency in payments and lowering transaction costs. We already talked about that. Credit cards charging 2%. Now, creating programmable money and improving transparency in money flows. Did you guys just get like a little uncomfortable feeling in your stomach when you read that? Because I do. Read that again. Creating programmable money. Very important that you know that. Remember what programmable money means. This is what they're building it off of Ethereum. If they do so, programmable money. Remember, when you get a welfare check, you can't spend it on liquor or you can't go spend it on lottery tickets. The stores are told not to take it. Now, imagine that they could, from behind a computer, click one button and make it happen. Automatically, that money is banned from being used at whatever location it wants to. But did you see what it says there? That programmable money and transparency in money flows. Remember what I told you before, that here there's these serial numbers. So those serial numbers are on every one of those coins and will log what David bought milk, David bought eggs, David bought gas, David bought a steak, David bought whatever it is. And it's going to tell the government, be feeding them information in real time what I'm buying. Here comes the problem. They're saying, well, for the sake of transparency, and this is where I have a little bit of an issue. I'm wondering if you have an issue too, because I always hear this sentence, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why does it bother you? Why does it matter? Well, I don't have anything to hide. It doesn't matter what you group, shouldn't care what I'm buying at the grocery store, shouldn't care if I'm buying gas, shouldn't care if I'm buying cell phone, shouldn't care what food I'm eating. So it doesn't matter for the sake of transparency. Like, at what point do we feel that it's way too intrusive? And for them just to say that we're going to improve transparency so that we know what David's buying, I feel that that's an invasion of my privacy. And I don't think that we should have that, which is why I think we should always have a dual pattern. I think there's benefits to it, but I think that we should always never let go of our ability to pay things in cash if we so choose. Now, let's jump back into that article. Big problem for me, just programmable money, deciding what and what I cannot buy. That's what programmable money is. And improving the transparency. I don't like that either from a personal, but I like it from a government side. I want to see where your money is going. How many times have you seen all these dirty governments around the world paying contractors some money? We would also not have to have inquiries anymore because we're going to be able to track all of that. So that, I guess, would be a benefit. Providing a seamless and easy flow of monetary and fiscal policy. Do you guys understand what that sentence means? Please read that again. Providing seamless ways for monetary and fiscal policy. Fiscal policy, meaning what governments will spend, where they'll spend it. Monetary policy, how many coins can be created. You guys know in the past few years, they've been able to print as much money as they want, but they don't print it on a printing press. They just send an email. Here's $1 billion. They're going to be able to do that for sure. This is going to be the similar. But the part that I don't like about it is this part right there, where they can now dictate their fiscal policy as well. Now, this depends on which government, you guys. What government? Governments come and go all the time. And as new governments come in, they're like, now is the new list of priorities. You cannot buy these things. You can buy these things. And they're going to force that on people. And I think that people should have more choice than that. Imagine that behind the desk of one computer in one city, they can now say they're whole citizens of the country. You now can only receive one chicken per week per family. Click the button, and now that's the law. They can make that happen because if you can control the money, you control everything. So I don't like that at all. What do you guys think? Now, what are the challenges? Citizens could pull out too much money at the banks at once to purchase the CBDCs. Now, I don't think that we're going to be running towards them, to be honest with you, triggering a run on the banks. I don't think that's going to be the biggest problem myself. But this is also a problem, bank runs. If you guys remember through 2020, there was massive amounts of problems in 2020 because everybody thought the end of the world was here. They were running to the banks and trying to pull all their cash out. Remember, we operate in the world in a fractional reserve banking, which means for every $1,000 that we put in the bank on our paycheck, let's say, the banks can make $9,000 of loans based on that $1,000. So if $1 million comes in the door, they're allowed to lend out 9 million. They're always lending 9 times the value of what they have. So if everybody just goes to the bank and asks for their money, you can't get it. If you have ever gone to the bank and just tried to order $10,000, for example, they're like, well, we're going to have to order this. It's going to take several weeks for us to get $10,000. Remember, the bank will take it in a second. But if you want to create 10,000 or even over 20,000, now you got to plan a month in advance to be able to get that currency. This problem that happened in 2020, just for the regular day guy, just trying to get out $100. My own mother was at the bank trying to beg a teller for $100, and they could barely even get that. Now, go to 2021, where there was a big freedom rally in Canada, all the truckers that went to the city, and they locked all these people's accounts, and people afraid of an authoritarian regime coming in, they were rushing to the banks to pull out cash. And so they want to also control that money supply and not allow bank runs to happen. So this type of stuff is going to continue, guys. There are pros and there are cons to it, right? Imagine that we're not going to have a lot of bank fraud anymore. We're going to be able to track it. We're not going to have a lot of tax fraud. They're going to be able to track it. But we now have to hire people to track it. I think we should have the benefits of all worlds all the time. So I still think that there are benefits to it. I think that it's possible that there's no stopping it anyway. It's coming. So try to do the certain things in your life that you have that. The problem that I really have is where we're not going to have a dual currency anymore, where we can have a Canada coin or a Fed coin in the United States, but I still want to have the ability to have some cash and to be able to use cash where I want, when I want. One of the options for us is always to buy some gold and silver, a little bit of gold. Make sure that you have that. If you don't have enough for a 1 ounce coin, you can always go into silver. So it's $30. You can buy 1 ounce of silver. In the US and Canada, it's like $35. Or you can go into these micro coins. Now, these micro coins are only 1 gram. 1 gram. They're very, very small. Notice they could fit several of them on my fingertip. They're very, very small. This one has maple leaves on it from the mint in Canada, and it has the queen on the back. And you can actually break these off into little miniature ones. So you can get something like this, and this is always worth its weight in gold. So typically speaking, one of these micro coins here, if I break this coin off and I just was holding this one little coin, that one little piece of gold right there would have bought you 50 loaves of bread 100 years ago. 75 years ago, it would have brought you 100 loaves of bread. 50 years ago, 100 loaves of bread. Today, it could buy you 100 loaves of bread. Though the dollar figure, what it was worth, has changed over time, the amount of bread that it can purchase for you has remained steady. So this is something I think that everybody should think about. And you could start by buying one of these, one tiny little 1 gram of gold coin, or you could start with a little bit of silver. This is a little bit more fun because it's larger. Anyway, try to do something for yourself just to make sure that we're going to be okay in the future. Anyway, guys, I wish you the very best. If this gave you any benefit whatsoever, please consider subscribing to the channel. Send it to a couple friends who like this. I think it's very important to be on top of these things, and I hope that you stay safe.